typically when we make that transition, whether it's from the military into Salesforce, or it could be any other career field into Salesforce, you have to translate your experiences into a context that makes sense for that given industry. So how did you go about doing that? What are maybe some tools or resources, or what strategy did you use to translate your military skills into being a pilot to now you're selling a CRM platform for Salesforce?
Right. And that's the $1,000,000 question. So really, and it's really a different kind of path that I took. So we all know all the different platforms that are out there: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. So I started telling a story about my fitness journey. So while I was doing the VIP airlift stuff, I just got so consumed in the mission, I stopped taking care of myself. And kind of like all of us, maybe during your professional career, you kind of get consumed in climbing the corporate ladder or making the next rank or going for the next job. And you stop taking care of yourself. You stop taking care of your health. No more working out, maybe just not eating right. And for me, I had four boys that were growing, and we're sitting around the dinner table and they're getting ready to start playing football and do sports. And I'm talking about the importance of eating right and working out and staying in shape. And my 7-year-old looked across the table from me and was like, "Dad, you don't do any of that stuff, so why should we?" And so that night, I realized that the team that I was truly leading, my family, saw something different than what I saw. And I decided that I wanted to make a change. And so I started the next day with a really small goal, was 1 push-up and 1 sit-up. And I started to build on that with consistency. And I brought my team along, my family. I involved them in all those things. And I ended up, like David mentioned, becoming a pro bodybuilder out of that. Did that between 6 months and 12 months. And so I tell that story because that's kind of how I learned how to tell a story on a platform, which happened to be Instagram. And so as I started to tell the story of my fitness journey, I wasn't afraid to be vulnerable, talk about the goals that I was setting, talk about the wins, and especially the losses and the lessons that I learned throughout that. So I kind of practice on a really easy platform. And then some folks took notice of that. David mentioned I was on American Ninja Warrior, and I ended up doing a triathlon. And I learned how to translate the message that I was talking to and the audience that I was talking to on Instagram into more of a business value on LinkedIn or on Facebook or on Twitter. I just adjusted the language, but there was always a lesson learned. And when I would tell that story specifically in key images from the stage, what resonated the most was where I started from and the vulnerability that I shared. And so I focused on that. I started to focus on that and started to focus more on the lesson learned and the value. And so I would tell that story in LinkedIn. And so I did that more often, probably 4 to 5 years. So if you go through my LinkedIn, you'll see just posts about developing trust with my 2-year-old. You'll see posts about me doing a triathlon and where I failed, where I had a panic attack in the first 5 minutes. And so I started to learn, and I really paid attention to whose stories resonated with me when I would look at somebody on social media, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook. So when I would pause and read a message, whatever stirred emotion in me, I kind of paid attention to that. And I saw how the story was crafted. And I saw how it provided value to me at the end on what I could do to maybe achieve some similar things. So David, hopefully that answers your question on how I was able to transition from kind of telling a fun little story about fitness and being overweight to transitioning that into a business value on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it does. And I was taking some notes because that's an incredible story.